Dave always hasn't shared his lunch at all with any of us. Doesn't John do she? Well, okay. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to those online, to staff and those of you who have come along too. So first up today, we have promoting Buller. Jessie is going to lead that off, and you have 30 minutes, Jessie, for your presentation. Thank you.
Kia ora everyone, councillors, your worship, people in the room and in the virtual room. So today here with me, so I'm Jessie Creedmoor, Promoting Buller Incorporated, and I have here today Jessica Paley-Atkins, and we have Emma and Cara and Rochelle, and some of them will be joining online. While we're waiting, who can remember way back to September last year? So prior to, I don't know, October the 11th? Was it sort of weird, but apprehensive, but nervous, but excited? Maybe a bit less stressed or something? Right, well, are we ready? Okay.
Yeah, just.
Here we go. So you're thinking back to how you were feeling? Well, we were very nervous because we were about to launch something out into the world. And on October the 28th, we actually did. And our baby was well received by stakeholders, partners, and leaders present, including here we have Simon Pickford, who said, "I've seen similar projects cost hundreds of thousands," at which our designers went, "What?" And he said, "Oh, many hundreds of dollars." And Heath Milne from Development West Coast said, "We'll definitely be using it." So we were off to a good start. But first of all, who is we? Promoting Buller Incorporated Committee, Alana Cronin. Now, remembering we try to represent the whole of Buller, Alana Cronin from Little Whanganui, Andrew Beaumont from Fox River, Punakaiki, Emma Healy moved all the way from Christchurch to work for us. Yay, Emma. Living in Westport. Felicity Watson, who is now our Australian ambassador. How cool is that? Jessica Paley-Atkins needs no intro from Gentle Annie. Myself, Cara Gray Smith, moved all the way from Australia just to be with us and the gallery up the main street there. Lee Harris from Punakaiki, Rochelle Henham from the Jewelers, Shane Barry, some lady around here, and Stacey Adams. And you'll learn about the Buller Identity Designers soon too. But before we begin, we must remember that this wasn't actually our baby. Buller already has an identity, and we wanted to show this through the eyes of our locals. Cue video. By the way, Caitlin's amazing. Just wanted to say that. She's phenomenological.
Let's go surfing now. Everybody's learning how. Come with us and follow with me. Early in the morning, we'll be starting out. You really need
This could be the moment we've been waiting for, the chance to feel alive. Nothing's gonna stop us, nothing's gonna top this, nothing like we've ever seen. And with my hands together, what a feeling. Cause I feel like dancing, got a feeling. It's where it all begins.
Now, look, that does carry on, but I just wanted to show you that this is about improving our locals. Oh, I'll do that one. Oh, here. What are we doing? Why are we going the other way? Backwards, sorry. Get the technology right. So those few examples were literally from our recent Getting It Real campaign. The real part will come here soon. Right over December of January, with a $500 cash prize from Alan Freddie as a parrot. There were 38 videos submitted from our locals. And during December to January, the campaign garnered 380,000 views. More importantly, 7,500 interactions with our content, and reached 7,000 on our TikTok audience. So, and since running the campaign, we've had that is something that's been fixed and you want to line. Since we've started, over the 3 campaigns we've done since the 1st of December 24, we've had over 2 million views on Facebook alone of our content. This is bulleting out there. I'm going to talk fast now. I'm going to enunciate very well, so I hope you can hear everything, but we've got a lot to get through. Why are we here? We formed in late 23 after our workshops identified the need for a strong buller identity, but also coordinated district promotion. And that identity was to promote Buller's unique destinations, advance the visitor economy, strengthen community identity and pride, and attract skilled talent, residents, and investment. Never more before has it been so important. The deliverables were going to be the Buller identity and toolkit and brand strategy that would tell the story of Buller through positioning, stories, and visuals that resonate with visitors and residents alike. And it needed to be identity for the richest stories, not just pretty pictures. It needed to be about the positioning, the values that make Buller unique. But then we also needed to make sure where were we heading? Were we heading the right way? We set up and worked a lot on this. Our vision is Buller is known for its many desirable destinations, celebrating our community, sustainability and collective prosperity fueled by a commitment to attracting new residents and advancing the visitor economy. We do that through adaptive leadership and collaboration. We champion Buller as a thriving destination to visit, live, work and play with that foundation. We're in this together. He waka e kanoa. So, and I think if you talk to many people, they will tell you that we really do live these, this vision and values. And then it got really busy, and I'm going to skim past this. All of this presentation is available for you, but there's been a lot of extra grey hairs and time. And at that point, when we were presenting this back then, it was 6 months full-time work equivalent that volunteers had put in. Sorry, go back again. So who could help us in the early stages, remembering that every one of you around the table and all of us, we have a very deep connection to our specific place in Buller, and we have ideas about the colour, the look and feel and what's special about it. So we did need an independent 30,000 foot oversight, and then local creatives would actually deliver the brand assets. So it was very handy at the time with the master planning going on, and Paul Zahn and these big ups here because he linked us in and we were able to piggyback so we could save money on them when they were here rather than paying for their travel. So that was fantastic. And they had experience and skills that were extremely relevant and useful, and that will show up later on. But backing up the boat, do we really need a brand, a Buller identity? What is the point? You know this, every place has its own strengths. And a strong identity helps locals, businesses and visitors to understand, and this is key, easily communicate what makes Buller special, builds pride, guides smart investment, also key, and attracts the people and ideas that fit its character. But we were working within the West Coast brand, not detracting from. That will become clear soon. This is as much about strengthening community pride as it is about practical promotion. We can't reiterate that enough. Does it benefit us all? It helps boost collaboration. You'll see this soon. Credibility, strengthens partnerships. It's already evident, and addresses district challenges over time. Enhanced tourism, etc. Blah, blah, blah. You guys know all this stuff. We'll skip over that. Our neighbours also down in Glacier Country, they've done a similar project, and it gave them a lot of useful tools moving forward together. So the foundations needed to be laid, and this is where ISMIS were proved that to be gold. They ran identity workshops and they produced a framework that was going to be the foundation, and this document is also available. And it captured the essence, the personality, the story of the brand, but it also had these 6 pillars that represent what makes this place unique. So I'll keep going through here. But the identity statement, and I'll speak quickly. I've only been going 6 minutes. I want to work till 9 minutes. Buller Kawatiri is a place where life and landscape intertwine, a way of being close to the things that are important, Bulla Kawatiri invites people to get stuck in, contribute and grow. It's a place where effort is rewarded with meaningful experiences and relationships. Isn't that true? Where caring for people and nature creates something lasting. And there was attitude and mindset and all the brandy stuff. And the pillars here, once again, the documents that you've got go into a lot of detail. And it's not just dross. The wording in behind climate, embrace the wild, come alive, talks about why that story is important and actually how we use it, and then some ways that we measure it as well. So I do implore you. So the 6 pillars being climate, embrace the wild, come alive, community, you care, we care, lifestyle, take the time to have time, innovation, free to make, inspired to innovate, discovery, hidden worlds, uncovered paths, and experience, earned moments and endless stories. And I won't go into all this, it's a lot of wording, but all of this stuff, see, you've got the story behind it, why tell the story, and measurable outcomes for each of those pillars. The framework that ISMIS developed also gave us tactics and targets. It helped us to target the right people that would have the potential to transform the futures of Bulla. And this next bit was never going to be easy. As we said, everyone is deeply connected to the place, your special little part of Bulla. And Bulla has all of its very strong identities and places within it. It's a place of places. But guided by He Waka Ekanoa, we're in this together. We wanted a participatory process, hundreds of volunteer hours, the ISMIS work, and later the local designers went into this. And we had a different approach. We had proposals from Ileana Stupples and Ranamai Adcock, both from Karamea, and they stood out for their skill, the understanding of the brief, but also, most importantly, their love of Bulla. So we asked them to collaborate. And that was bold and was risky, but it really embodied our mission while harnessing their complementary talents. So we're getting through this. The village identity, it was collaborative. Leanne and Ranamai both worked together. We also had input from Tunihi Paewhenua, who's a Ngāti Waewae Mana artist. 3 people who have a feel for the place, never worked together before. It was participative, and we had a lot of critiquing sessions, stakeholder sessions. We started with 6 concepts and really tested the edges to end to get to the final designs. We had starting points of the brand, a visual identity, and a logo, because it was never going to be just about pretty pictures. Liana and Ranamai went through a huge process. There's a document about 50 pages, but I'll skim through it. They worked out the positioning with other brands and districts. They looked at how the brand was going to work with and complement the West Coast brand. We had really specific criteria. Then we clarified the essence being beautiful contrasts, discovery and awe, community and ease, connected diversity, many small towns, varied landscapes, land and people shaping each other. And we did come to that Bulla Kawatiri refers to the whole district. And when we specifically asked Mana Whenua, that is the appropriate name, Kawatiri is the appropriate name for this northern end of Taiputini. That dual language also positions us well with our intended audiences and in relation to other district brands. Tone of voice. Okay, so the reveal. Many of you have already seen this because it's out there. So you can see that we've got different ways of putting it. That's horizontal, then you've got vertical, and there's a whole lot of other lockups, which I can take you through. The Kawakawa leaf. It gives the brand a distinctness and something unique. It's not used elsewhere. It represents the bush here, but also there's a lot of cultural symbolism with the Kawakawa, and its handmade rough edges are a nod to some of the other cutout silhouette stuff you see around the district. So we weren't about throwing the baby out with the bathwater, not that I like that term, but anyway, you know what I mean. Lots of different logo versions. Then there were the icons, because, for example, this was for all organisations, and for a local community group, maybe Wild by Nature wasn't the right one, but grounded by community, absolutely. And for real, a lot of people were actually telling us we needed to use that as our main icon because they love the cheeky weka, they love for real, and other people were like, don't you dare use a weka. And a whole lot of icons, and there were 55 other files in there. We also got gifted these Mana Whenua designs, Tanako and Kawhaiwhai, and we can use anyone can use these in all sorts of ways. You can't change the design, but you can have it as an overlay, and a lot of people are using it. The colour, I love, this is where the light shines on a Kawakawa leaf, and it's very unique and distinctive, but if that doesn't suit you, don't worry. We've got steak knives and a palette of other colours that can suit your brand. You're welcome to have a flip through. If you are a nanosecond worker, you could take a photo or just scan that QR code, but not quick enough. So that'll be enough, right? Because we had all of this stuff. But wait, there's more. a whole identity toolkit, which is what we set out to do. So the visual identity guide, which is online in your documents, the visual identity guide gives everything that anyone could ever possibly need to know about using the brand and all the aspects of it and all the links. And promotional strategy, which goes into all of those lovely pillars and ways that anyone can use this to help their own advertising and promotions or events. An image bank of all of the photos from other people, from every nook and cranny. People sent these photos in as part of the different campaigns we've done. There's 1,000, but we narrowed down to 200. And then we've got this hero image library of 80 photos, which are also stored in the Development West Coast image bank, so other people out there start using them. 55 brand asset files. We had some key phrases translated into Te Reo Māori, so that's useful there. We've got a website which was donated to us, which is amazing because once again, it lets us do more with the money we get. And we've got a Ball of Warnspo coming soon. There's the photos. We set up that we must credit the people who have taken the photos when we use photos, because it's just good practice. And the fact that they all put these photos in, we like to put their name on the photos. The promotional strategy, I would recommend that you have a good look at it because anyone can use it. It gives some really great strategic objectives and core messaging. It helps to uncover how you can use the pillars in action, gives you tactics and channels. So I implore you to have a look at that. We did tell our stakeholders, particularly in the business world, about things that they could do right now to start using the brand. And of course, the value, right? And we have different perceptions of what value is, but what is the point if it doesn't have value? And don't worry, I'm waiting. I can just hear someone thinking, so what does it cost? Well, as leaders around the place said, you know, many hundreds of thousands of dollars. No, not this one, just 32,440 actually. And that was everything. So that was 25,000 from the Buller Resilience Trust and $10,000 from the Buller District Council long-term plan. So a big thank you to ratepayers for that, and for council for granting it to us. So that was for everything in that toolkit that you've seen. So, but it's not just that. Like I say, it's gazillions of hours of volunteer time, sweat, blood, tears. I have aged, we've all aged. So some of that's gone in there as well, but we don't at the moment number that. But how can it be used and how is it being used? That photo there, Linda is online, maybe that was she entered that photo. Well, it is being used. A couple of the councillors there already are using it in their email signatures. The staff have set up a beautiful GIF in the staff Buller District Council official email signatures. Heritage Jewelers are using it. Reefton's using it. Talking to John Bojan the other day, he's going to put a big Buller badge on the Reefton sign. Yes. And O'Connor Home are using multiple pieces of the branding on their newsletters. These guys came to a business enablement workshop we ran, Gary Howard and Dion from Paddle and Carve. And here's Gary Howard, as bold as brass on his signature. And Dion puts bits of the branding everywhere through their socials. So this is exactly what we want to see. Interestingly too, so this is about the fishing competition. And so all of the collateral had the Buller Kawatiri branding on. So that was the trailer sticker, their tickets, posters, the comms we sent to them, the social media, but also, cue video. Thank you, Caitlin. And you need to listen for this one. I'll step out of the way.
Westport, a small town on the upper west coast of the South Island, famous for its beautiful and rugged coastline. Back in the day, coal mining. At the beginning of 2025, something new put Westport on the map. Big game fishing competition, part of a month-long Buller fishing fest to make it even more exciting. Be one of the founding fishing legends that helped build a legacy for the mighty wild by nature Buller district. Westport, a small town on the upper west coast of the South Island, famous for its beautiful and rugged coastline.
I sent him the branding and he said it. And this is a YouTube influencer who has been key to this competition. Now, actually on the competition, pushing buttons not working. Try again. There we go. So interestingly, you may have noticed that the fishing conditions haven't really played ball. There were 20 marlin hooked and lost. And a lot of our South Island anglers are new to this. There was one marlin landed and a few other fish. But so we were planning for next year because we've built this event solid. It's got everything it needs. But we sent out a survey 2 days ago, and all of it just to try and plan whether we do this next year. And all these responses came flooding in. This is just a few. So the results, 100% of those surveyed anglers enjoyed the event regardless. They're like, we had a great time. And 100% of them, without fail, want to return if we run it again despite these tough fishing conditions. And we had loads of comments, including great people and very friendly community. Westport people are awesome. Healthy marlin fishery, great people. Met some cool people, spent a fair bit of money in Westport, and I know they spent a lot. And lots of comments like that. Keep up the great work. This will definitely get bigger and bigger. Now that you have the ball rolling, it will gain momentum, bring on next year. And remembering this is an event that's had bulla Kawatiri splashed all over it. That's them having a good time. Now, there's been some mock-ups. This here is for you guys to look at if you want to. Your own team have mocked up some examples, because at the moment, a lot of our branding is digital. What we haven't got is open air. So we've started up a program of work where you're going to see some of this more visible, and your team, I believe, are also working on signage. So I'm going to skip through this. Development West Coast mocked up how the brands can work together, yada, yada. I think some of your own collateral is going to be branded up, which is fabulous to support. The operators, Underworld Adventures are using the brand, jewelers, shops, the short draw. But what else have we been doing? Has it just been about the brand? Oh, no. We've been implementing our strategic plan, because that was really important for us to put together. That design has changed and as it's been translated into PowerPoint. But anyway, there are 4 strategic pillars and goals. Promote bulla, and there's a whole sort of work plan under that. Engage the community, grow visitor economy, and enable success. There's a whole lot of goals underneath that. But we did review our strategic plan last night because, as we know, there's some stuff going on in the world and in local government and bits and bobs, and we need to be adaptable. So we're changing focus. We have to agree as a committee, but it looks like we're just going to focus on a few key things to acknowledge the forces impacting bulla. So we've also been talking all things bulla, and people love it. So we've had 46,000 content interactions since late December, and people have, in the watch time, so this is literally a screenshot from Meta, have spent 30 days. They've spent 30 days. So imagine someone sitting in a room for 30 days watching our content, which is great. We've been lobbying, positioning, plugging. So a recent video, and you'll see more coming out of the Kawatiri Coastal Trail, was from us talking to Be a Kiwi, Kyle Mullender, and putting them in touch with Development West Coast and telling them that they needed to do a campaign. We've also focused on good governance. Our annual report is available in your pack to read. We've been working with influencers like Sam the Trap Man. So suddenly you'll see something, a collab with us, where we suddenly are getting 38,000 views and 1,000 likes. And also, like I say, we've had 2.1 million views of our content since we started our Facebook page. Remember back to that big list? Don't worry about it. I was going to tell you about some of the things, but they're all black squares. However, it's okay because I know this stuff. So one thing we have started is with the Bulla website, we have set up an events portal. So any Joe blog, Rosalie Sampson logs in, Rosalie Sampson, she goes, I've got an event, Karamek, this is what it's called, here's a little photo, boom. Suddenly, one source, instead of having to go to Westport, the Good, the Bad and the Ugly, or other great Facebook places to look for things, you can now go to that. We haven't publicised it yet, but we've got the login ready to go. We've got the portal ready to go. Yes. So we've also got a package of work where you're going to see the brand start to become more visible out there, and also some business enablement where we've got people who are going to be doing workshops, that's volunteers, doing some workshops to help businesses actually use the brand, and a bunch of other stuff. And the website, getting the website completed because that's really important. I'm not going to talk through all these acknowledgements, and there are several pages in the documents that are available to you online. I implore you to read through because so many people have been involved in this process and it would not have happened. So when we say collaboration, we really mean it. So, but I would like to acknowledge our committee have, at the point when we launched it in September, had clocked up 1,000 hours, and that was only what we tracked. I suggest it was double. And that's 6 months full-time work. And remember, we all must remember our partners and spouses because they literally end up carrying the can. Bulla Resilience Trust, Bulla District Council, Paul Zarnan, again, I would like to thank for linking us in because Isthmus really did form the basis of everything. Lots of other names, Resilient Westport, Robin Nair at West Reef, but I can't go through it all. In the interest of time, please read this in your packs afterwards. And yeah, all of those documents are available for you or anybody who wants to read the annual report, our strategic plan about promoting bulla, anything else. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for your time.
Jesse, I'd just like to say to you and your team, I haven't obviously been involved in any of this and haven't seen a lot of it. But, you know, quite frankly, from what I've seen when I lived away from here, this is world-class stuff. And it's absolutely astonishing that it's been pulled together for $30,000. So well done to everybody who's been involved in any way, shape or form. It's impressive and professional. And I think that probably, you know, you could help other districts on a, pay as you go sort of way, to raise some money to, to help out your organisation by providing, some expertise or guidance to other areas that might want to do something the same.
Oh, very high praise. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'll make sure I pass on to the team.
Okay, are there any other comments or questions anybody might have? Okay, thank you, Jesse, and thank you, team. Very well done.
Are these ours? Eyesight. You can grab the eyesight. Yep.
They are now positions 9/10. Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. How people talk to your people about it.
Okay, thanks everybody. Now we've got Department of Conservation, Doc, and Kawatiri. Oh, okay. We have two. Sorry about that. Kawatiri Coastal Trails, and that's going to be led off by Richard and Mr. Stu Henley.
That's right. Don't mind standing. Your worship, the mayor, councillors and staff, thanks for the opportunity to present to the Bulla District Council today about the Kawatiri Coastal Trail. I'm Richard Niederer, chairman of the Charleston Westport Coastal Trail Trust, which constructed and which manages the trail. We've got Stu Henley, who has been our project manager and is a trustee, and Eddie Richards, our trail manager. So as this is a new mayor and council, we thought it timely to give you an update on where the trail is at. As you know, the place it holds in the Bulla District. The council is a key partner of ours on the trail. Shane, Dave and Phil, you were councillors at the time about 10 years ago when we met with the council. You haven't been here all that time, which you're probably happy about. So your support then with the then mayor was critical in us being recognised in the West Coast Regional Growth Study. And from that, we received $100,000 to undertake a feasibility study and business case. That in turn led successfully to us gaining $9.36 million from the Provincial Growth Fund to construct the trail. And the first section of that was opened between Carter's Beach and the Bulla Bridge in December 2020, and construction was fully completed in early 25. And it's about 12 months to the day that we had our official opening down in Charleston. So today we have a fully operating trail garnering very positive reviews, and which is now contributing to the Bulla and the wider West Coast economies. These outcomes are aligning with the projections we had set out in our PGF application in terms of user numbers and the attributable economic benefits. So thanks for this opportunity. I'll now ask Edie to launch into the presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Richard. So it's been a very successful first fully operational year of the trail. And as Richard mentioned, we thought it would be timely to provide an update on what the trail is bringing to the community. We will have time for questions at the end. So let's just get straight into it and we'll have a look at the trail. Okay. Yeah.
I'll take you away to the sunshine.
So that's a wee snippet of some new footage that we've got done throughout the trail, really showing that the trail brings people to the community and what other things there are to do in the area. So the trail, it's 40 kilometres between Westport and Charleston. It's a walking and cycling track. It's a grade 2 ride and it was fully completed in March last year. So you'll see on the slide here, there's been 32,000 users in the last year, but 11,000 of those since January alone. So a big uptick in the last few months, and it's just showing that the word of the trail is getting out there. How did the trail begin? Richard touched on this, but in 2015, a group of community members initiated the idea of a trail to provide some long-term economic benefit to the region. They were successful in receiving 9 million from the Provincial Growth Fund. 8 million of that went straight back into the local economy for Westreef completing the construction of the trail. So what is the trail bringing to the community now? Just a bit of background on the slide. The figures are based off the New Zealand Cycle Trails 2025 evaluation report, alongside our own trail user numbers. We have recently launched our own ongoing survey, and the results we're getting from that is to the dollar of what it says on the New Zealand Cycle Trails report. So on average per person, spend is $964. With 32,000 users that we had in the last 12 months, approximately 65% of visitors, that's an estimated visitor spend in the past 12 months alone of $21 million. And that's our first year. So lots of businesses are seeing the potential of the trail that visitors are spending on accommodation, food, fuel, and lots of other activities in the area. We've launched this business partner program so businesses can kind of leverage off trail visitors. But it's not just about the visitor spend, it's the trails directly created some jobs for our community. So this is just a wee picture of a company called Cycle Journeys, who opened up a depot in Westport last year. They now employ 7 people. Another thing to note, it's not just visitor spend or job creation, it's attracting people to our area. It only takes a little look at some real estate advertising if there's a property along the trail that says buy your property alongside the Kawatiri coastal trails. So it's a draw card to live here. It's not just about the money though, so it's for the community. And this is a snippet from our trail survey that we've recently launched, and it's really special to see that the second most common answer of effects of using the trail is my sense of well-being or mental health has improved for community members and visitors alike. We see families, bikepackers, work commuters, hand cyclists, school groups. It's really a place of all ages and abilities to enjoy the outdoors, which links in really nicely to our most recent accolade, which is the nationally significant New Zealand Outdoor Access Champion for 2026. So here's just a couple of photos of the successful award presentation we had last week. I'll just pass over to Stu to go through some more components, yeah?
Yeah. Next slide. Not just a cycle trail. Early on, we recognised our amazing history along this trail, so that's what we've spent a lot of time and effort into getting history provided along the trail in terms of a lot of patterns, and bringing out all that amazing history, and not history, all the flora and fauna. These panels, all the interpretation, etc., getting all that together costs significantly, probably about over $300,000. So it's a significant part of our budget. It's bringing out a lot of our really important history. And these are really well received by visitors. They stop slowing them down a bit on the trail too. So instead of some do zoom through the trail 3 hours or less than they can do, but it's slowing them down, learning about all that history and coming back for more. I went to Westport North School a long time ago too now. Maori history and social studies was probably, the Kawatiri was probably about 2 short paragraphs. That's about all it was taught. Learning about the ancient Maori site over there at Carter's Beach, and this is one of the most significant early Maori sites in the country, was an opportunity to, in conjunction discussions with Ngāti Waiwa and Ngāti, to bring all the history out. And this, you know, lived here all my life, and there hasn't been much recognition of Maori culture or stop at the front here. Thanks. Sorry. Okay. Long way. And just acknowledged by iwi and by Ngāti Waiwa some of them that this has sort of been very beneficial for their culture and understanding of history, Maori history and Kawatiri. And along this whole route, particularly from Westport to Carter's Beach, it's a great opportunity for education. I've got a lot of school groups going out here. Yeah, they're learning Westport North School class, learning about whitehead ecology. A lot of history along here as well. So we are regularly seeing, particularly primary school groups, walking out here, and the teachers are well informed now about giving them really good nature study and historical accounts of their district. We have an obligation under our resource consents and their access agreements with DOC to undertake weed control, plantings, and predator control. And we have a wonderful group of volunteers that undertake this. See Peter Cove and there, Trudy Harrington, some of the people, Shane up there, I think one of them out there. And since 2020, we've put over 15,000 native plants. Some of them started like this. They're up by Martin Street. They're well above my head now. So amazing growth. And it was really, out in the O'Carry section, it was neat to Pete Cove and Trudy. We were able to get some cameras out. We've got some cameras out there, and we've got a neat population of great spotted kiwi. And those kiwi, as a result, probably we think of all our predator control are actually breeding. And we've got the last 2 years we've had little kiwi coming with little short beaks. So it's been really involving all these people. It's been really great for that involvement from the community. Just a few of our volunteers with their bright new jackets that were presented to Cape to start having there a few weeks ago. They're all mostly all retired people, but really contributing back into the community. Another aspect that we really noticing is the health and well-being benefits to the people. Westport, particularly also the Westport and Carter's Beach section. There are a lot of people out here. People like Brian James, who's out there just about every day on his mobility scooter. He goes right across the bridge, right out to the tip heads and back again. School visits, and really it's, you go into that section crossed by Martins Creek wetland where you got only about 1 kilometre in a straight line from where we are here now, and just being able to enjoy that bush medicine, what they call. I was out there yesterday, just sitting in one of the bench seats there, enjoying after doing a bit of maintenance, just enjoying the sun and the bird life and people coming past me and just, where are you from? Oh, we're from Tauranga and Hamilton. And lovely trail. So really, I know Dr. Vanessa in England, she really promotes our trail. She does work maintenance on them for that health and wellbeing aspect. Thank you.
Thanks, Stu. Moving on to how it incorporates our bullet area. So it complements lots of other attractions. The whole point of the trail was to bring visitors and have Westport Bullet as a hub. And we're definitely seeing that. Visitors are coming and asking us what else is there to see and do. Lots are coming and doing the trail and going to Karamea and having a look what's up there. It's not uncommon to see large groups of visitors come through and connect as part of like a cycle network. So with the West Coast Wilderness Trail or the Tasman trails. So people aren't just turning off at the crossroads. Also, what's really exciting to see in our survey results so far is that the average per person stay is 3 nights. So that's really cool. So I just put a couple of trail impressions here. This is stuff we hear every day, but when we read it, it is still special. So that the trail is a credit to the region, that it's one of the best in New Zealand, and it's a world-class ride. So we know that the trail was built to a top level, and it's attracting visitors worldwide. What is our responsibility now? So as always, our biggest challenge will be maintenance and financial sustainability. This burden can be decreased if we become a New Zealand Great Ride. What is a New Zealand Great Ride? So it's a network of trails designated as New Zealand's greatest rides. There are currently 23 great rides, and they receive around $100,000 a year to support maintenance and management of their trail. We have been in communication and indicated our interest in becoming the next great ride, and all going to plan, we will be applying for this during the year, which we will be asking for council and community support for. But the council have already supported us, so thank you. And this year we received a total of $45,000 as part of the long-term plan. But where has this gone, or where is this going? Unfortunately, last year there was an extreme weather event, and that caused the Buller River to flood. It eroded a small part of the trail on section 1. West Reef repaired that, but that cost over $20,000 to repair. And other ongoing general maintenance costs totaled around $42,000 for the year. So that's directly where this money is going. I'll just hand over to Richard to close off and go through the key points.
Thanks, Edie. Yeah, so as you sort of touched on, you're delivering a world-class asset to the district. Certainly, absolutely, the feedback we are getting is supporting that, and about the jobs that it is creating. And it's not just the jobs that we've got within the trail itself, but there's the extra accommodation nights. There's somebody at an extra checkout operator or whatever it may be. So there's a lot of things going on. As you mentioned before, on average, people are spending almost $1,000 over a 3-day stay per person, and that bears up with what the other great rides are doing. The health and wellbeing, we've touched on that, and amazing heritage and ecology, which Stu talked about too. But absolutely, becoming a great ride is going to be key to us. We have been. The Great Rides is administered by the Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, and the person who has the final say on whether or not we become a great ride is the Minister of Tourism. We have reached out to her, but we haven't yet been able to get a meeting with her. But she has told us that we need to just keep communicating with the existing lines of communication we have with the ministry, and we keep them up to date with all the things which we are doing and what have you. So they're just going through a strategic review, and we're sort of hopeful that after that we will be given the opportunity to apply to become a great ride. No. So if there's, we've done a very sort of quick gloss over. We weren't coming here today cap in hand saying we need X dollars, but it was really just give you a heads up. And I think, you know, the support, obviously we get a huge amount of support from the council. And, you know, was it 40% of the land that the trail is on is controlled by the council? You know, so that's, we do not forget about that side of things. The Outdoor Access Commission Award, which came through last week, you know, a lot of the access across private lands is going to be controlled or managed by way of an easement with the Outdoor Access Commission, and which the council supports. And so that will ensure that the access to the trail is in perpetuity. You know, the thing we have to remember is that, you know, these landowners, we've not paid a cent for the land or for that access. We've tried to be as discreet as possible. We go around the edges of the farm or whatever the case may be, but nevertheless, they have, you know, given up some of their property for us with, I guess, no financial gain, but the pleasure perhaps of seeing people using the trail and enjoying that. Yeah, so there's probably not too much more I can add, but you know, if any questions you've got for
Great, thanks, Richard. And Councillor Hall's got a question.
Well, really, I just want to congratulate you guys. As you said here at the beginning, when you came through with your ideas, absolutely inspirational and visionary on a scale. So that isn't normally sort of thought about at a local level. So it's amazing. It's fantastic that you've actually got to this point. I haven't ridden it yet, but I plan to do it in the near future. And I just wanted to also touch on the fact that this is, and I know this not just anecdotally, but personally, that we are seeing a number of people using Reefton as a stopover point, either beginning or ending the trail. So it is spread quite wide, the financial benefits, and I know a lot of Reefton people have been down and used it, so it's also local well-being as well, right to Reefton. So
yeah,
congratulations.
yes, thanks so much, Dave. You know, I think that sort of leads into a good point that, you know, obviously Reefton's got its trails and what have you, but there's so much more development going on there now too, with where Oceana Gold was and the around Waiuta and what have you. We are working with the other trails, in particular with the Old Ghost Road, the Wilderness Trail in Greymouth, and the Department of Conservation with regards to a regional cycling strategy. So the idea being how, you know, you've got the trails in around the Reefton area coming into being around Brunner and such like. So there was something done quite a number of years ago, which never really came to fruition, but there's a bit of momentum again to get that going, and that's sort of been driven by through DWC as well. So yeah, hopefully we can see that collectively we can you know, get groups into town and what have you. Yes.
Yes, so my dream would be what I do here in the future. Of road be down right. Yeah, that's it is also for the story as well. So you know, all the benefits, like all the making from it.
Shane and then Phil.
I'm completely biased.
Funny that.
But I think something that does need to be acknowledged is the fact that this project was kept to budget. And I know the toll it took on the likes of you, Richard, and particularly Stu. And we did miss out a section of the trail, but actually to keep that 40k under budget was amazing work. I also want to acknowledge the fact that last night at our Promoting Buller strategy meeting, we talked about kind of the pressures on New Zealand at the moment, and perhaps on tourism going forward with the cost of fuel and stuff like that. I think that's where an asset like this comes into its own as well, because people will travel less, but they will probably do more stuff like this, where actually it's a free activity. So it will be a big draw card, but also for us as a community in times when it gets tough, it's great to have stuff that you feel proud of.
Yeah.
And it is good. And, you know, like I wish the government would see more value in these types of assets, and never underestimate the value of what the Buller District Council is putting into it and how you enable volunteers. Because actually most of this has been driven by a volunteer trust and volunteers maintaining and doing the trapping. And Stu, you've got paid for half the amount of time you put into it. The things like the work on the heritage panels and stuff, you know, it's these are great projects. So thanks.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Shane.
Yeah, look, thanks. Hey, thanks, team. What a great story. And to Dave's point and everyone else's, you just can't live in the Vollet, particularly in Westport, and not be aware of the impact that it's having on our community. It's wonderful. But I do have a question. You've identified the importance of becoming identified as a great ride, and sort of talked around having to get in touch with the minister. Is there any other impediments? Is there anything in your way at the moment of achieving that goal of becoming a great ride? We don't believe so. Things that the trail, right from the outset, that was our ambition, and so the trail was built to the New Zealand Cycle Trail Grade 2 standards. So it's not as though we're, if we put our hand up and say we want to become a great ride, we then have to go and check that do we actually meet one of their metrics? So that's already been done. And we've certainly got their support. Stuart and I had a meeting with the board of New Zealand Cycle Trails about 18 months ago, and certainly the feedback and support that we got from them was pretty good. One of the things they do ask is that we need to be able to demonstrate our sustainability. Now that's environmentally and keeping the track up to standard and all that sort of stuff, but the other is sort of the financial side of it, and that's a bit of a two-edged sword, because to become financially sustainable, we want to become a great ride, which will, as Edie said, would be worth about $105,000 per annum to us, and that comes out of the international visitor levy. But yeah, the other side of it is how we manage that. It's our budget is about 170,000 per annum to run the trail and maintain it to its current standard. And so if we can become a great ride, that's perfectly achievable. Yeah, but it's a myth to suggest that trails can be self-sustainable. The only one that gets within Bull's Roar is the Old Ghost Road, because they've got accommodation huts and they control the people who go on their trail. So that's the only one that gets even close. But it's just New Zealand Cycle Trails and NB acknowledge that we need government support to make these happen. So as long as we are getting the feedback, the positive feedback, and maintaining the trail to the standard that it is, I've got absolute confidence that we will get that tick.
That's great. Rosalie's got a question.
Oh, yes, I just want to also congratulate you, because I know what a hard road it is getting funding, etc., and keeping to budget. But I just, really congratulate you, because you put something here for Westport, and over the many years I've been involved in tourism, Westport has lacked, and that's just given you a good plus for that. Yeah.
Thanks, Rosalie. From my point of view, I picked up something earlier in the presentation relating to the possible closure of Stockton and also of Holston. And Stu will remember, because we go a long way back in the day, what used to bring people to Westport in particular was all about coal, and if not coal, then cement. It wasn't really a tourist destination. So, what you set out to do, you certainly achieved. I don't think, Stu, we're getting that many coal people and not many cement people for sure here anymore. So you identified, a need, and you've really filled that gap. So, again, another impressive and astonishing project, and everybody involved needs to be congratulated and thanks. Having a project manager like Stu Healy, I've just got one question for him, and that was, during this project, did you find any coal out there, Stu? No. Oh, okay. Yeah, Tony, you had another comment?
Volunteers are involved in this. Involved with them.
Well, there's a traffic group, there's 20 involved in that, 20, and about a dozen, 15, 30 myself. A week.
Yeah, it was just around that sustainability of your volunteers. Is that getting, are you getting more or?
Yes.
People moving here, like, not people that come to the picture, people just come and say, come and volunteer.
That's great. I was just.
And also, a couple of people are just about to retire.
Mhm.
So I kind of said, September, they'll come and join us. We need those people too. And it's great for them to be involved.
Yeah.
And you do find that a lot of those volunteers are people who are relatively new to town. I guess it's their way of getting some community involvement and, actually trying to get some part of and engagement with what's going on.
Thank you.
Okay, just one more question.
Yeah, just around merchandise. Are you guys selling merchandise now around your like t-shirts, whatever?
Yes, we have previously. We've just had a lot going on with the first kind of fully operational year. We've got kilometre markers out on the trail, new signage, there's a new brochure coming out, the new map, all this footage. So it's really exciting, and there will be some new merchandise coming out, but it will be later on in the year.
Yeah, because I just thought that that's an area that you probably can get quite a bit of income into, because people, particularly myself, I would buy a t-shirt for argument's sake, but twice the price of what it's cost is just to donate to the trail and have a memento. So just interested.
Yeah, no, that's definitely on the cards, and we do see that visitors are riding the trail and wanting to donate.
Are we out of time? Okay, Shane, go on.
Pardon?
I just wanted to ask about the trail tickets. Are they still happening?
Yes.
And are they growing? And like, are you getting more income from them?
Yes, and companies like our business partners, for example, Cycle Journeys, are pushing people to buy a trail pass as a way to donate, and that's an easy way for people to, and we're seeing an uptick on that too.
So rolling out on QR codes and stuff, make it as easy as possible for people to have in.
So is that just a donation, or do you have a ticket price as such?
It's just a donation. So we have the trail passes. It's just more of an incentive to donate, and also you get a reminder annually. So if you want to donate annually, you buy an annual trail pass. Donations via Give a Little page or through our bank account. That there's a multitude of ways that people can donate. And
Great, impressive. Thanks very much.
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Okay. Thanks for that. Everybody will be wanting to rush and live in Westport at this rate, won't they? Or maybe recent too. Okay, so we're going to move on to Doc, and it's going to be led by Owen. Welcome.
Thank you. You asked to stand, sit, here. Would you like this delivered?
Oh, you can stand or sit. Just be by the mic there, and we can.
I'll sit down.
We can all hear. Yeah.
Justin, would you want me to start? Regional Director for.
Just use your microphone now, just in front. You can use that one that's on the table in front of you. Yeah, just hit the right hand button. Yeah.
Start again. Kia ora koutou, I'm Owen Kilgour, Director of Department of Conservation here on the West Coast. Thank you for making time to hear from us. It's a long time about the last 10 years. come over here for this work with ACDC, run the conservation corner. I work with the future member of all programs and of course, around that working with and apologies if I have some questions here and people. So we're not very real, so no, I was going to say new, but perhaps not so new council, but now that you're sort of everyone settled in, we wanted to just take the opportunity, share a bit what DOC do, talk about where some of our priorities are at the moment, some opportunities to work together and really just take any questions you've got, hear what's important to you that we can support with. So, in terms of our role, we do quite a broad range of things here. We manage land, we provide visitor facilities, we're a regulator, and with that, we've got an enforcement capacity as well. We're obviously an advocate for nature, and we work in partnership with the two Ngāi Runanga here on the coast, and our Conservation Act, our overriding legislation, has probably got one of the strongest treaty clauses of any piece of legislation in it. Just sort of by way of a little bit of context, so our minister, of course, gives us priorities. These are his 4 key ones: targeting investment into high-value conservation land, generating revenue that can be invested into conservation, strengthening that partnership with iwi, and also streamlining our process around concessions and permissions. And we'll get into that one a little bit. Apologies, I'm going to try and get through relatively quick so we have got time for a conversation and any questions. A little bit about the region, 1.9 million hectares of land here is public conservation land. So across the coast, that's 84% of all land, and that's 25% of conservation land in the country is here on the West Coast. Our regional office is in Hokitika, and then we've got 4 operational districts, different to your district council districts. So here in Bulla Reefton actually sits within our Greymouth operational district, but happy to answer any questions that come up in the Reefton space, Dave. That's all good. Around 150 staff, so we're one of the bigger employers across the coast, and we're probably the most prominent government department in terms of scale and distribution as well. We've got 5 national parks here, 5 marine reserves, and in South Westland, we've got the Te Wāhi Pounamu World Heritage Area as well that extends right down into Fiordland. A whole lot of species we look after, so 4 different species of kiwi, the seal, and particularly here in the Bulla seal, a number of skink species, and a whole range of other species. And some of those species, it's really hands-on sort of direct management, particularly in the kiwi space, protection for skinks as well, and some are far more protected on a landscape scale, and that's primarily through our aerial predator control program. So just this is sort of a snapshot of where we've done aerial predator control over the last 12 months, and because of the massive scale that we work on and that those species are across, it's really at this point in time the only real tangible way that we can give that protective benefit to species. And in that program, we work really closely with Osprey as well and their TB-free program. So their focus is on possums, but we work quite closely so that it works sort of beneficial across both. This is down in South Westland, but this is our predator-free South Westland project. We're in partnership with ourselves, Zero Invasive Predators Next Foundation, so philanthropists, and Te Runanga o Makawhio. We've been successful in basically removing predators from 103,000 hectares, and the work now is about how you protect that in perpetuity, and it's having quite an incredible benefit for species there. Just the bird populations that are flourishing, and birds that haven't been seen from generations down there succeeding. There's a couple of really interesting things about this. One, this has been done on an experimental basis to see is this possible. It's the first time that predators have been removed on the mainland on that sort of scale. And so, yep, that's possible. The work now is how you protect it, but this is potentially a pathway to, what predator-free New Zealand could look like, and some of the tools of how you'd actually get there. The other really significant piece here is around the tourism offering. So we know that glaciers are the thing that bring the vast majority of visitors to the West Coast, and their life is looking somewhat finite. Sort of modelling suggesting in the next 25 years is probably the time frame you might not see those glaciers from the Glacier Valley. And so our challenge is, what is now our, looking forward, how do we transition beyond that really glacier-based tourism, but to keep the offering alive, keep the visitors coming here that we know are a key contributor to our economy and sustaining our communities. And the reality is that the answer probably lies in nature. This is really, where else in the world can you see nature on the scale? And even talking to visitors now in Southwestern, well, how did you like it? What did you see? We know the glaciers brought them, but they don't so much talk about the glaciers. Nature's what they're seeing, but we know the glacier is the hook. So that, really, really key in terms of tourism in the West Coast in the future. We do quite a lot of work in the wild animal management space, so browsers. Most of our focus is on goats, and then primarily in national parks. We also control tahr. There's a management plan for tahr that says they should be constrained to a particular range. So most of our work is around making sure that they're just constrained to that range and keeping numbers particularly low in national parks. You don't have tahr up here, fortunately. If you ever see one, please do let us know. Also, pigs. The only place we do regular pig control is up here in the Heafy, but we do sort of respond to releases or illegal releases of pigs. The thing we do not do at the moment is any active control of deer, and that's certainly quite a topical conversation, I guess, at the moment, nationally and here on the coast. The reality is, across the wild animal space, we've got a finite resource, and we have to concentrate our effort at the areas that have the highest conservation values, but certainly a conversation, will play out in that space. We do a lot of work controlling weeds, obviously, around 20,000 hectares controlled in the last year. Again, on the West Coast, we've got a bit of a unique situation here, whereas most of the country weeds, sort of the horses bolted, they've got small areas of indigenous biodiversity, but largely surrounded by developed either rural urban landscapes. We're quite the opposite here, and we're pretty keen to keep it that way. We're working really hard with the regional council as well in terms of helping them update their regional pest management plan, but we have got a few species, and perhaps pampas is an example. They're quite on the threshold where they could, that horse could bolt, and so we're working quite hard to build a really structured program around where we target our work with weeds. Big part of our role is as a land manager, and I think that perhaps here on the coast more so than anywhere else around the country, this really matters to our people and our communities, because so much land is conservation land, that economic activity that happens on the land is super important. So I guess just to give an idea of scale, 123 grazing licenses, 56 mines, a lot of guiding, aircraft landings, gravel take, beehives, all this stuff happening on public conservation land. And the number we've got here, although it's a very old one from 2004, and we're looking at what might take to get a new sort of understanding of that, 220 million being directly generated on public conservation land. A few other things in that sort of regulatory land management space. Obviously, over the last few years, a process has been run around stewardship land, and so stewardship land is land managed for conservation purposes under the Conservation Act, but it's land that is yet to have a different classification applied to it, relative to the values of that land. And so we've got a lot of that land here on the coast, and the process has been run with advice from an independent panel, from mana whenua panel, recommendations publicly notified, and they have gone to the Minister of Conservation to make decisions, which he's done. he's had to make a binary decision. He can either make a decision to approve the land classification that's been recommended, or he cannot. He can't pick and choose any other sort of classification. And so he's done that process, he's made his decisions. And the next step from that would be actually to implement the decisions. And some are quite simple. If it's recommended to become a reserve, it's quite a simple process. Some land has been identified for disposal or possible disposal. That's quite a lot more complex in terms of surveying and then how you actually go about doing that. Another thing we spend a reasonable amount of time is in the Fast Track Act, and DOC has got quite a specific legislated role in that, and our role is to provide advice, to provide technical advice to the panels that then would make a decision. And in doing that in parallel, we also work with the applicants to determine, should the panel be inclined to grant an application, what conditions would go with that. Also, sort of in terms of how our legislative framework works, we've got the Conservation Act, and then sitting under that, we've got Conservation General Policy, and at a local level, we then have our Conservation Management Strategy, which is a strategy across the West Coast, and each region has one of those. Ours is about 15 years old. Like most strategies around the country, it's sort of past its date. They're meant to last about 10 years, and we had been working in partnership with Pautini Ngaitahu and our Conservation Board to update that strategy. We've taken the decision collectively that we've put a pause on that, and the reason being that the government is looking at making changes to the Conservation Act. And so we've got a possible different legislative framework and management framework, and in the future it didn't make sense to continue with that work at this point in time. We also play a role in the RMA as well, where we could be identified as an affected party, but also through planning processes, we provide evidence there as well. In the tourism space, we basically say that nature is the experience, and by and large we provide that. So we're probably the biggest player across the country, but absolutely here on the coast of providing those visitor experiences. And here on the West Coast, around 90% of visitors, when they're here, they'll interact with nature, and about 70%, that's their primary reason, that's the thing that's brought them here. And so we've got a ton of different experiences. We've got a couple of great walks, we've got 3 visitor centres, a number of tohu whenua sites, and a lot of historic conserved sites as well. A lot of what we do in partnership with others. So that top left-hand photo, that is the main bridge at the Hokitika Gorge, owned by Western District Council. They needed to replace that, so we worked with them to support an application into MB, who funded that work, and then our contribution in kind, that was our dock engineers designed it, and we project managed the build for the council, and they still own that bridge. But a whole lot of obviously different partnerships as well. So Punakaiki Visitor Centre, and funded by Provincial Growth Fund, delivered in partnership with Pautini Ngaitahu and NZTA. We contribute to the Destination Management Plan, which DWC head up, and also Te Whanakitanga, so our regional economic development strategy. That's it from our sort of regional picture, and Justin will take a little bit further bullet focus stuff, and then we can take some questions.
Thank you very much, Owen. I just want to follow on from Owen just to talk about as a district, I really see we're very blessed, I believe, in what we have on our back doorstep. And I know working here for all these years with the youth of the region, a lot of them forget what's on their back doorstep. And part of the department's focus is really developing connections with what we've got right here. And Owen's highlighted a number of those areas, and I'm just going to touch on them as well for the bullet. So the team that we've got here locally to do that, we've got a district office just around the corner in Russell Street, and that's led by Suvi Van Smith, who's our operations manager. And then we've got a district leadership team with his 3 principal rangers, an operations advisor and a program lead. And then we're really well supported by a great team of up to 39 staff in total, both from a base up at Karamea, led by David Guppy, and then down at Punakaiki, we've got the visitor centre team and a rec ranger down there as well who help look after the district. Apologies if we're not perhaps touching on as much on the Reefton area, but we do work collaboratively as a region, as Owen has said. So one example of that is just in behind the visitor centre, behind the Punakaiki building there at Punakaiki. We've recently completed Te Korawai or Punakaiki. It's a new nature walk. It's just a wee 10-minute up and 10-minute back down. Great new feature for the district, and it's proved to be very popular. And that was a multi-district operation. Great to see all the skills across the region being utilised to land that here as our latest walk, and it's proven very popular. And so we've got a great team, we call them, or heritage and visitor team, and they're really highly skilled in what they do. And so they service the tracks, the huts, the amenities throughout the district. And then we've also got a really great biodiversity team, and I'm going to touch on some of the great work they do here as well. Myself, I've got a community and visitor centre team. So the community team, we often work a lot with council, with permissions work and concessions, those sorts of things, RMA, and enjoying that relationship there. And then also running community events and engagement with fantastic organisations like we've just had leading before us. Congratulations to them on their award, thoroughly deserved. So working in with other community organisations and businesses, and even reaching out and working with schools and that sort of thing. So as Owen said, I think we're really spoiled here in the Bull. Like, just touching on heritage briefly, we've got a very key heritage site up at Denniston, which is really, I think it puts us on the map as far as industrial heritage. We've got a real story here and that's really what we're trying to do, is help tell our stories from our past into the future. And I think that's a really good example of that, is there. And then we've got, as previously mentioned, Charming Creek. And now we're really excited about this new initiative with Team Watson.
Yeah. It's a shame, sorry to interrupt this, a real shame with Charming Creek, because we've lost a lot of our history in there. And, you know, we all know now through the help of Doc and great communication with our community, it's been a bit of a journey. It's just the understanding of the loss of that track, the removal of the bridge. It's all huge stuff for us. Yeah. But, you know, having that good communication on the ground around getting that out to our community as well, because there's lots of misinformation out there, and, you know, and then working through other alternative options with our community, which has been great. So, yeah.
This is one of our real challenges in the visitor space, is that sort of climate resilience, landslide resilience. And so, you know, acknowledging that the Heafy track is a key piece of infrastructure here. We've obviously replaced the Heafy bridge, but we're in the process of proactively, you know, relocating and replacing the Gunner Bridge, just to make sure, you know, that that is resilient in future events as well. But yeah, can't build everything everywhere, I guess, and some landscapes just don't let us do what we might like to do. And probably, you know, Charming Creek's an example of that, where those landslips, not really anything we can do with them. So.
Well, certainly, just after the election, I went to Waiuta to the celebration of the, you know, the reef 120 years. And I hadn't been to Waiuta for many years, but I was just blown away by just how well it looked, how well it was kept. for something being in the middle of nowhere. So, yeah, excuse my ignorance. I just had to ask who's looking after all of this, and you guys are doing that too. So that was impressive. And back in the day, I used to go to Denniston on a regular basis, but I hadn't been there for a long time. I've only been back here for a 2.5, 3 years. So I took my mother up to Denniston and, you know, was very impressed with the work that's been done up there from the last time I was there to going back after all these years. It was impressed, but you know, the number of cars and tourists who were there, you know, surprised me. I wasn't expecting that many people to be there.
I think Waiuta is a classic example of, you know, working together where Doc does some of it, but really have to acknowledge Margaret Sadler and the trust to do a lot of work up there too. Pretty incredible what they achieve.
Sure. Hey guys, we've got about 8 minutes left. Have you guys finished your presentation? We'll sort of open it up for any questions or comments.
I reckon we could probably jump into questions, might be best, and you've got the presentation to look at the bio content if you'd like.
I just wanted to ask about the Topu Whenua sites and how they are decided, because you know, in my mind, the archaeological site at Carter's Beach should be a Topu Whenua site. Waiuta possibly should be another one. Like, what is the criteria around it, and is it possible to have more of them?
I won't be able to give you an exact answer because I'll get it wrong, but we can send that information to you. But there is, you know, the number of parts to it in terms of Doc recommending around the cultural significance and iwi's support of it as well, and Heritage New Zealand. So there is quite the process, but I'm not going to be able to articulate it.
Owen, is it something that Doc initiate, or could you know, say the Kawatiri Coastal Patrol with that archaeological site, should they be tapping Doc on the shoulder and going, why is this not a site?
I think the best thing there is we'll send you the process because I'll probably get there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Tony.
Hi, just around predator control. I know, but it's what's happening around the budget with that, because we've got a lot of goats, and you know, people are coming to the area and they're coming to see a natural environment, but they don't want to have a crash on the road because they're coming out all over the show, especially in the Northern Buller. How are we going to, you know, do we need to target problem areas there, because it really is becoming a great concern to us? And I know we have been in discussion with Doc, but the thing is, I think it's to do with budgets and certain times of the year, but it really isn't knocking them on the head. They're just getting worse and worse and becoming quite a danger and risk.
So nationally, you know, goats, deer are a big challenge, and you're right, the constraint is the budget, and so we have to focus our effort primarily on where the highest conservation values are. We have in the past certainly come and targeted goats here where there's been a challenge traffic wise. I'm not sure if we've done that recently, but we don't have a single easy answer on how we tackle the whole ungulate bit on the national scale. I mean, certainly we've got a challenge here. We've also got other parts of the country, you know, where forests are really on the edge of collapse, and so, you know, where do you invest to get the best effort, best outcome? But yeah, that unfortunately just isn't an easy answer to that challenge. Partly as well, you know, regional council's got a role in terms of their work and their regional pest management plan. Currently, it doesn't address animals; it's only got plants in it. But you know, that's also part of their consideration is how do those plans and strategies influence our regional work.
Okay, thanks for that. We've only got 4 minutes left, so we've got time for 2 questions, Rosalie and then Dave, and getting how quickly they are. So,
what is your the predator control up in the Oparara Basin, Kawatiri Park? Are you doing any at present, or because Bathurst, you were doing it because of Bathurst funding, but is that any predator control being done other than 1080?
The primary method of predator control on a large scale is 1080. So we do Tahurangi National Park, focus on the Hiwhi and also the Mokahanui. So again, you know, focusing on the high value catchments. There is work on the Denniston plateau as well, and like you said, in part, funded by Bathurst. Overall, our predator control program is informed by one, where the values are, where species are that need to be protected. And it varies from year to year based on threat, and that goes up and down with as forests have masting events, there's more food available and predator numbers grow when there's more food available in the forest. So it's quite variable.
So at the present, there's no predator control in the Okarara Basin.
There's certainly 1080 control periodically there, Justin. You might know if we do trap in the Okarara specifically to protect field.
Another one comes down.
Okay, we've got Phil next.
Yeah, just a quick one, probably for you. You indicated that you're expecting a review of the Act. Can you give any idea whether it's likely, in your view, to change the department's obligations in regard to treaty? You indicated right at the start that Department of Conservation is probably the one with the highest, given the highest consideration to principles of the treaty. We have seen the coalition water that down in a number of other government departments. Are you expecting the same thing to happen with your department?
Certainly wouldn't be my place as a public servant to provide comment around what the government might or might not do. I wouldn't go there.
Dave. Oh, sorry, Phil. Will you finish? Just
Well,
a final one from Dave.
My couple of questions are a little bit different. Firstly, just a little feel-good one for me. I heard a number of years ago that there were takahe released up into the Gorland Downs area, I believe, and I just wanted to know, from my own personal interest, how that's going. Is there monitoring proving success, or what's happening? Have you any idea?
I don't have the data on that one for you, Dave, but we can get that and send it through.
Yep, I'm very, very interested. I mean, really, it's a location that I always, walking through there in the past, felt would have been ideal. So I was just interested in that one. The other one is I noticed that you talk about creating a nature walk, a little day visitor walk at Punakaiki, and we all know that Punakaiki is one of the pinch points of over tourism, basically, along with Milford, and that was recognised, and now the build has gone on there to allow for facilitating that a bit easier. I'm just wondering, is there any effort from DOC to promote the second tier options, which we have a lot of them around the district, to try and, perhaps relieve a little bit of pressure from pinch points, but also it's a substantially big marketing opportunity. Is there anything going on trying to promote other options for tourism?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the reason for building that additional track was to spread people out Punakaiki and to distribute that load. And but more broadly, we've got some key products which are our short walks. So we've got, for example, in the Bulla there is the Cape Fowland walk could be one of them. Hockitucky Gorge, Ship Creek further south, we're Lake Matheson. So definitely trying to spread people across a range of opportunities, and we do promote, and I guess we call them our products here to distribute people, absolutely. But we've got to have those key sites because they're the draw, they're the things that bring people into the region and district.
Great, Dave. You finished right on time. Beautiful. 3 presentations, and thank you very much for coming. And again, like I say, it's quite amazing for this area. I've been away 30 years, but back quite often. But it's certainly a different place, to what it was when I moved away in the early 90s. And congratulations to you guys and Doc for putting all of this work in. I haven't been to the Heafy track since I was a teenager, so I must go and check that out as well. Need to get a bit fitter first. So once again, guys, thanks very much for coming in, and we look forward to an update, your next update, whenever that might be, and anything we at BDC can do to support you guys, please, just sing out.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. And of course, you've got Subi here as your local point of contact, and please do be in contact with her and she will keep you updated as well.
That's great. Thanks very much, guys.